Good morning, Read 180 students. Today is Wednesday, May 13th, 2020, and we're going to continue working in our real book with Workshop 3. And one of the things we're going to focus on today is some content area vocabulary, and that leads us into our learning target. I can use vocabulary about a topic and think deeply about concepts to come up with related examples. So what we're going to do, if you look at your first page on page 154, we're going to review a couple of things, but we're actually going to go through this concept organizer together. So as I read through page 154, you may have to pause the recording, but also I've given you the printout, or I've given you the sheet with the answer key, just like we would be doing it in the classroom. So just a reminder that in fiction, a dystopia is often set in the future. And we're going to talk about some word families here in a little bit. But to continue on in the middle, a dystopia is a bad or hard place. So we can add the suffix ian and change that noun dystopia into an adjective, which means it's a dystopian society. It is a bad or hard place for these people to live in. Now remember, we said the opposite or the antonym of dystopia would be utopia. And that's where, if you did the Quizlet, you got to practice a little bit the difference between what is utopia and dystopia. And again, thinking of dystopia as not the perfect place. It might appear to be a perfect place, but it is not. All right, so your directions will be, you're going to follow along in your real book as we fill out this organizer together. Oops, after I see there's a mistake. After you've completed your own sentence, take a picture of page 154 and you'll submit it in Google Classroom. Now, if you look at the very top of the page, the directions say, discuss the concept of dystopia, then complete the concept organizers. Now again, we said dystopia is a noun, but if I add ian to the end of it, the suffix, I can turn it into an adjective which can describe a particular society or group. So your example sentence says, some science fiction movies take place in a future dystopia where oppressive leaders rule by taking away individuals' freedoms. And as we go through this, you can kind of think, if you are familiar with, maybe you have watched a movie or read a book in which those societies, the people are living in an area or a society where they don't have many freedoms. They don't have the freedom of choice. So you can probably think of that right off the bat. All right, so if you look at the definition, so find that second box where it says definition, imaginary place where people are, and it's either fearful, controlled, or oppressed. You can choose one of those words. You don't have to write all three of them down, but which word would you use so you can kind of remember this, how to describe dystopia. So it's an imaginary place where people are, you'll fill in that line, and do not have either liberty, control over their lives, or freedom. Again, you just choose which one of those three words or phrases that you can connect with so you understand the definition. Okay. Now, characteristics. You'll see three bullets. So we'll look at three characteristics of a dystopian society. So in fiction, a dystopia is often set in the future or in the world after a war. Please put both of those down, because it could be in the future or in the world after a war. It doesn't always have to be, but it probably makes sense to put both of those down for you as a characteristic or a description. The second bullet, in a dystopia, powerful rulers / oppressive governments control what people do, say, think. Now in this case, I want you to put all of those down because it really can affect what people do, say, and think. It's not just one or the other. And then the third characteristic, people in a dystopia must follow rules and tradition. And remember, tradition is like what we talked about in the story, The Lottery, where it was a tradition going on year after year after year, but it really wasn't a tradition that people enjoyed or looked forward to. All right, now the next section is examples. And here I want you to, in all of these lines, I want you to copy exactly what's in the book or on the slideshow. Dystopian movies, books, or series are very popular with young adults or teens. And the novel 1984 by George Orwell is a classic dystopian story. Now, you can probably think of some dystopian literature, and we're going to jump to the side a little bit. Maybe you're familiar with The Hunger Games, or you are familiar with Divergent, The Giver, and Feed. Now, I'm pretty familiar with the first three. I'm not really familiar with the last one. And again, we think of like Mockingbird is a dystopian genre story. So your third example would be my favorite dystopian book is, try to fill that in if you can think of something that would fit as dystopian literature. Now a non-example, it would be, now remember non-examples are going to be the opposite of what the characteristics are. So allowing citizens a vote or freedom of choice. Now remember we said in dystopia, there isn't the freedoms. People don't have choice. So a non-example would be allowing citizens to have freedom of choice. They're able to vote. And the next non-example would be a fair trial or process for people who are accused of disobedience. Again, that would be opposite of what is happening in a dystopia society. There wouldn't be those fair trials or process. Think about the lottery again, how those people really were not excited for that time of year that happened. And just think about how the characters acted, especially the ones at the end where they draw the winning ticket. Now, before you move on to page 155, I would like you to fill in your sentence. In a dystopia, people who, is it question authority, disobey leaders, break the rules, are likely to be what? Punished, jailed, or tortured. Go ahead and fill in that sentence. When you're done, you can turn to page 155. And again, at any point, you can pause the recording and fill in what you need to. Now on this slide, we're just going to look at 5 vocabulary words. We're going to complete the chart together where we rank the word, you'll fill in the meaning, and then your assignment for today will be independently to complete the chart by giving an example. So you're going to show me that you have an understanding of what those words mean. So let's take a look at page 155. Our words, I'll read them down. Disturb. And again, as I read them, I would like you to rank like 1, you're not really sure what the word means. Number 2, I've seen or heard it before. 3, I think I know the word. And 4, I know it and use it. So I want you to circle 1, 2, 3, or 4 as we read through the words before we begin. So the first word is disturb. Disturb is an action word. It's a verb. Next word is participate. Again, participate is an action word. It's a verb. The third word is podium, and podium is a noun. Remember, a noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. Your next word is rebellion, also a noun. And the last word is sacrifice, and sacrifice is a verb or an action word. So let's go back up to the top, the word disturb. So to disturb is to cause someone to feel upset. Okay, to cause someone to feel upset. Your next word is participate, to join others in an activity. So if you're asked to participate, you are joining others in an activity. Your third word, podium, a raised area that people stand on or speak from so they can be seen and heard in a crowd. We have a podium in the cafeteria that Mrs. Kuznia and some of the teachers and the principals stand in front of when they're making announcements. Your next word is rebellion, an attempt to take control of a government or an organization through the use of protest or resistance. So a rebellion is an attempt to take control of a government or a specific organization or group. And they usually do that through protesting or resistance. And our last word is sacrifice, to give up something you want so that you can get or achieve something more important. Again, you give up something you want, that's the sacrifice, so that you can get or achieve something more important than that thing. Okay, so at this point, you can stop the recording, put it on pause. You have the definitions in front of you. You want to make sure you copy those down for full credit. And then the assignment is going to be you will complete the 5 examples by filling in those sentence starters. All right, so again, once you're done with that, you can submit it to Google Classroom. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to get a hold of me. And again, like I usually sign off, I do miss seeing you guys. I know we're getting to the end here, and it's kind of sad in itself, but just hang in there a little bit longer. We just have a couple weeks left, and you guys are doing a really good job, so keep it up. Have a good night, and we'll talk to you later.